Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, this is Tammy Pastor, and I am happy to introduce you to coloring book artist Ann Manera. She's calling in from Providence, Rhode Island, and has created 25 coloring books and journals in the self-publishing arena, and she has designed things from very simple to extremely intricate designs. Her coloring books are unique because they're endorsed by the National Association for Activity Professionals to use with senior centers, nursing homes, and day centers, and I'm going to have her explain that in the interview. But before we start, hello, Ann. How are you?
Hi, Tammy. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
I'm great. So before we get started, tell me a little bit how you got started in creating coloring books.
Well, I fell into it. I never intended on creating coloring books. About a year ago, actually, my first book was published on April 26th of last year. And about a year ago, around this time, I read an article in the local newspaper about adult coloring books, and I had spent the winter painting because here in New England we had a lot of snow last winter. So I painted a lot, and I do painting commissions also. So most of my paintings, I had worked on a series of paintings through the winter, and when I read the article, I said, I think I could do this. I have self-published in the past with some children's books, so I knew the process. So I decided to take my sketches from my paintings and create my first coloring book. And I pretty much gave myself 1 week to put it all together and to see what would happen, because I knew that time was of the essence. I didn't want something that was going to take me months to put together. I didn't think that would be effective from a business perspective. So I basically took my sketches and created my first book, Floral Mosaic, put it up on Amazon, and really did not have any expectations. And the first weekend, organically, I sold 5 copies of the book. So it lit a fire under me, and I just decided to keep going.
Isn't that interesting how just you sold 5 copies, and that was enough to keep you motivated and to keep that creativity flowing, and it gave you that encouragement and faith in yourself to keep going. Do you create all of your own designs, or do you draw them by hand? Do you use a computer? How do you make your designs?
I use a combination of both. Primarily, I draw all my designs by hand. I went to art school when there was no computers in existence, so I learned traditionally to draw by hand. And then later on, I learned how to use a computer and to design with a computer using the Adobe software suite. But I use a combination at the end. So I'll draw with the computer by hand, but then I also sometimes draw with a Wacom tablet and stylus. So I'm drawing digitally on the screen with the tablet, and then sometimes I'll tweak things in the software in the computer, so it becomes kind of a hybrid.
Oh, that's interesting. I looked, by the way, everybody, go to Amazon or to annmanera.com and look at all of her beautiful books. Tell me, do you believe that most people like their coloring books to come in themes, or how do you decide what to put in a coloring book?
Well, I want to say that I have a master plan. And I have it all laid out of what I'm going to do, one book at a time. But what I'm really doing is listening to what is happening in the coloring groups on Facebook, and using that as sort of a marketing tool to research what people want to color. So each book itself has a theme in the sense that it is all of the pictures belong together. So I did a book for Valentine's Day called For the Love of Coloring, and that one had love-inspired design. So that was a little that was its theme. They didn't all have a heart in them, but that was the theme, that they were all love-inspired. And then some of my books have come in a series where I'll have floral mosaic, I'll have civil bird mosaic, and so it's like the mosaic series, or I have a series that's a compilation of books. So it's either a series of books or a theme within a book.
So would you say that do most people color alone or in groups? Or I saw that you had one book called the Coloring Party Book, and I thought that was really cool. What's your experience with how people like to color?
It seems that people are doing a variety of things. Some people are coloring completely by themselves, and they don't want to be bothered, and they just want to relax and be alone and color. And some people are getting together in groups physically, whether it's in a local library with people that they don't know, so that they could meet people in a social setting. Some people are having parties where they do know people, and some people are coloring as family. So I think it's really kind of a variety of how people are actually coloring.
Oh, interesting. So you are endorsed by the National Association of Activity Professionals. What exactly does that mean? And tell me a little bit about why, I think is the best question, why is this something that activity directors are using for seniors in nursing homes and day centers?
Well, a lot of coloring books that are out there are beautiful. However, they have a lot of intricate designs with very tiny spaces to color. And when I started coloring those types of designs, I kept saying, there's so many tiny spaces. I don't know how people were doing this. So I started drawing some books that were bigger spaces. One of my books is actually called Big Spaces, and it has bigger spaces to color with less intricate designs. So I took that as my general theme throughout. There are some books I have that are intricate with smaller spaces. So once I had enough of a library of my own books, by the fall of 2015, I decided to now approach senior centers and adult day centers and offer them for people in that audience to use, because they have bigger spaces to color, less intricate designs, and most of them have repetitive patterns, which is really what they're looking for, because it's the repetitive pattern of the act of coloring that is what's calming people and having them focus and bring them back to a time, a nostalgic place for the senior, for an older person, of when they were younger and they colored. So it kind of sparks their memory. So a lot of memory care units are using them.
Wow, memory care and
for Alzheimer's, yeah.
What are some other health benefits that you've heard of related to coloring?
Well, between articles I've seen online, articles I've seen in magazines, and listening to the people that are actually buying coloring, people are reporting that it's lowered their blood pressure, it's lowered, they've lost weight because they're not reaching to eat something, or it's lowered their blood sugar because they're just more relaxed, and maybe they're a little more focused, and maybe they're not eating as much as they were before. People have lost weight. So maybe just the weight loss part actually kind of surprised me, because I thought maybe they were just sitting there. And even drawing the books, I kind of felt like I was just sitting there all the time. And it's like, I got to move around. I just can't sit here. But I actually saw my own blood pressure decrease, which I don't even have high blood pressure, but I had experienced that for myself and actually lost weight. So there is a benefit to all of it, just because it's compared to meditation.
Wow. Oh, so coloring books are compared to meditation for
coloring
stress relief.
Exactly. It's because it brings your brain into that place where it would be if you were meditating. I mean, I guess It could be like anything else. It could be with whatever hobby or anything that you're involved in that is relaxing you, whether it's sewing or quilting or gardening, something that is going to bring you to that space.
Wow.
That will help you relax.
So the active coloring actually takes your brain from the beta level, which is our active brain level, to the alpha level, which is the meditative level, kind of like when a cat purrs, kind of calms you down.
That's what people are saying. However, you need to make sure you're coloring something that you enjoy. So
right.
if you're coloring something that is frustrating, so then you need to change.
I could imagine that if you're frustrated because the spaces are too small and intricate, that it would be the opposite effect. That's really interesting. So what would you say is, obviously you can only speak for yourself or from what people have told you, what are people using to color? Because I know it's not just crayons.
No, they're using all the good stuff. They're using Prismacolor pencils, which are very, very expensive. They know the names. They know marker refining color pencils. Some people look down on Crayola pencils and markers. Personally, I love them. I think that they have good coverage. It's a good product. It's Crayola. It's been around for a very long time. It's non-toxic. A lot of people are using Sharpie markers or big markers that have an odor to them. So some people can't use that, but they're using either pencils, and some people are using gel pens. That's a popular item. There's actually a pencil shortage right now. There's been some articles.
There's a pencil shortage?
A pencil shortage in the world of all things. It's just trying to crack me up that in the digital age we have a pencil shortage. So, because people are just collecting the books and collecting the books. So not only are they coloring, but they're also looking for, they're into collecting the actual books, so buying the books, buying the supplies, organizing their craft rooms. And so a couple of months ago, I saw all these posts in all these Facebook groups, and that's primarily how I promote my coloring books, is through social media, through Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. And people were just showing pictures. Look at my stash of coloring books. Look at my stash of pencils. And then they started creating these color swatches on paper. So I created a book called A Colorist Journal. And I basically designed these pages so that people could go in and they could list all of their books, all of their supplies. They could create color charts. And it's available on Amazon. And it's not a coloring book, but it's a colorist journal. So it sells very well, actually. People want to organize their supplies.
Wow, that's actually very intuitive of you to recognize how people are collecting these and not only just coloring, they're also very proud of their supplies and their books. And they share that in social media. That's cool.
And they're very organized. And it's funny because when you look at my own supplies, I mean, it's organized to a point. It doesn't look like my studio exploded. But if I was to show you a photograph of my markers and all of my supplies in this art box that I have, it's a disaster. It's not organized at all. But it's just, I'm not spending time organizing my pencils according to color or in order of the numbers on the pencils like these people are doing. So when I wrote my bio and wrote my description on Amazon for this book, one of the things I said was, I have a confession to make. My art studio is not neat. And because it's just not. I mean, I'll clean it up, but it's just, I'm just not organizing it the way they are. I'm not making color charts, but I've also been using the supplies for way longer than these people have. So maybe they don't know how the Vermilion Prismacolor color pencil is going to actually look on a piece of paper. So, and the book is done with the same paper as a coloring book. So when they do a color swatch on the book, in this book, they'll know what is it that is actually going to look like that in the coloring book that they're using.
Do you think that adult coloring books is a fad, or is it here to stay now that people are actually providing the books and creating the books for people to use?
You know, I ask myself that question a lot, and I hope it's here to stay, but I think that it right now is at its peak, and it is a bit of a fad. But the other thing that I think is happening is that people are getting a little bit bored with just a coloring book, and now they want the coloring book to have what they're coloring to have purpose. And if that means that it's, I mean, I've seen different products. Some people, I know Krispy Kreme Donuts has a coloring donut box. Their donuts come in a box you can color. So a lot of companies are jumping on having a product that you can color, and I think people are starting to say, well, yeah, I've colored this book, but now I'd like something that has a purpose to it. So I've started started producing and creating coloring journals, and I have one that was released about a month ago called the Diabetes Coloring Journal, and it's basically a coloring journal to track diabetes, blood sugar, medications, and food. And each page that you track those numbers on has a place to color, and at the end of the book, there's 16 pages to color, and there's 4 volumes of it, so that each one lasts for 90 days. So when you fill that up, if you want to buy another one, you can buy another one that has different pages to color. So I think that they want purpose to it. And if we don't provide them with something different, I think that they'll get bored. And then maybe it will become just a fad and go away. But big companies are stepping into it. So if Crayola has stepped into it, and Johanna Basford has a book that's coming out in the summer and people are waiting for it, they wouldn't be doing all that if it was really not something that was going to continue.
That's really interesting to think about creating products with a purpose. And the Diabetes Journal, I could think of many different journals that you could create based on health alone, or diet,
exactly.
or
exactly.
dream journals, whatever. There's just so many directions to go. I want to ask you, before I'm actually going to shift our interview to talk about business, the business side of coloring and coloring books. But before I do, could you give me 3 tips about how to get the best results when you're coloring, if you want to keep it as a keepsake, or frame it, or hang it on the wall, or give it as a gift? Could you give me 3 things that would be helpful?
I think that the biggest thing is to choose something that you like to color. And then if you like it, then you're going to do a good job with it. And to make sure you choose a medium that you're comfortable with. So if you like working with colored pencils, then use colored pencils. And the last thing is to just don't put pressure on yourself to know that this is for, it reminds me of doing a painting commission for somebody versus just doing a painting for myself. Don't put the pressure on that this is going to be something that's going to hang on the wall and everyone's going to see it, or you're going to give it as a gift. Create it as if you're doing it for yourself, and then you'll kind of put your heart and soul into it, and you'll be happy with the results.
That's really good advice. So if I want to start creating coloring books as a business, number one, do you think I could do it? And do I have to be an artist to get involved in creating coloring books in a business sense?
Well, technically you do not have to be an artist to create a coloring book. You can just assemble the book. There are places where you can there's some artists that actually sell designs, and you can buy designs and put them into a coloring book and assemble it. It's kind of a controversial subject, to be honest with you, from when you're talking about that, when it comes to speaking with an artist. That from my perspective, sure, anyone can create a coloring book, but the other part of it is that you have to decide as an artist, do you want to just create art and try to sell it, or do you want to actually create something that people will buy? And there's a big difference between the two. So anyone can really do a coloring book. It's just a matter of knowing basically what you need, what will sell. Does that make sense?
Yes. How did you, obviously when you started, you went with it was floral designs, right? The floral mosaic. And yes. You sold 5 books organically, which means you put it up there and people found it and bought it. So now you mentioned using Facebook and Facebook groups to let people know about your books.
Exactly.
Is that what you would suggest as a good way to market your products? And is Amazon where people should be putting their books?
Well, the advantage to Amazon is that you have a huge audience once your book is on Amazon. The disadvantage to Amazon is that when you self-publish a book and it's on Amazon, unfortunately it's not available in the store. So when I talk to people locally, like for instance nursing homes, and I say to them, I have these books, but you can only buy them on Amazon. A lot of them, the response is, well, I want to walk into a store and buy the book. So bookstores are not stocking books that are self-published right now, coloring books that are self-published. Some of them are. If you approach a bookstore yourself and ask to have them purchase your books, then sure, people are actually doing that. But as a rule, no. So Amazon is a great resource to reach a huge audience that you would not normally reach. You're reaching a worldwide audience, and people like Amazon because a lot of people have Amazon Prime, and they're getting free shipping, and they want that book in 2 days.
That's really, really interesting, because I think that most people wouldn't think about the fact that they would actually have to market these books to get into real bookstores, and that there's more to it than just making a book and uploading it into Amazon. So how
you have to market it even you have to market it even if you're not selling it locally. I mean, even to have it on Amazon and just let it sit there isn't going to do anything unless you're actually participating in social media. And I've been using Twitter a lot. Recently, I've been using Twitter a lot because I've taken the illustrations from my books, and I now have T-shirts on Amazon through a new program with Amazon. So you can find T-shirts on Amazon with my illustrations from the inside of my books that are actually colored. And so I've been using Twitter to promote that because I can't promote that in a Facebook group.
So okay, so you're using Twitter. I also saw you also do have a Facebook group. What is the name of your Facebook group?
My Facebook group is called Just Color with Ann Manera.
Just Color with Ann Manera. That's your Facebook group. And is that a group that if members of our audience want to go join, is it a public group?
It's a closed group, but all you have to do is request to join. And as long as it's a legitimate person that wants to join, I just accept them into the group. And right now we have about a little over 1,700 group members. And I primarily started it to promote my own books, but people are promoting other books there too. I encourage the artists to put their books there. And there's a group of artists that I'm involved with that we support each other. We all network together online, and they're welcome to put their books in my coloring group.
Oh, cool. Do you also make video trailers of your book?
Yes,
books?
I make a video of the interior of all of my books.
Okay, I remember looking at that because you had a very robust website, and I highly recommend that everybody go check out Ann Manera's website because you'll be able to see all the different books and also the paintings that she does on a commission basis. They're very unique and beautiful, and they certainly they go with my taste in art. So I was like, wow, those are really nice. So
thank you.
How do you have 25 books and counting, how do you keep producing all of these books? Because I noticed that they were on many different themes, very original thoughts. How do you keep producing so many books since you just started a year ago in actually publishing? You've created 25 books, and I find that extremely inspiring to know that if you just keep at it and focus, that you can create real books and a real business, and even get involved with a national group, who can help you with that. And then, of course, you have your Facebook group. So how do you do that?
I draw every single day. I don't know how else to say it. I'm fortunate that I'm able to come up with the concept very, very easily. And I don't know why. The only thing I can attribute that to is that my background was in a master's degree in media studies. It encompassed a lot of theory and a lot of art theory. And I had a minor in art history, so I studied a lot about the concept of whatever concept you want to produce the art would be. And I think that's the hardest part, is to actually be able to come up with a concept of what the book is going to be and to kind of stay ahead of what is happening. So I usually have a list a running list of what books I'd like to work on, and I usually have a running list of what people are looking for in those books. I ask a lot of questions in the groups, a couple of different groups. Adult Coloring Worldwide is a very big group, and Coloring Books for Adults is a very big group. And I usually ask a question, what would you like to see in the next coloring book? And I get a lot of responses. People tell me what they'd like to see in a book, and I keep that list and kind of just keep going. And rather than having a master plan, I kind of look at what's happening in the groups and the trends that are happening, and then kind of produce what's there. I mean, I have the 25 books that's a combination of coloring books, the diabetes coloring journal, which there's 3 of them right now, the colorist journal that's there, and then I have 3 books that are it's a compilation of all of my books. Each book has 6 pages from 6 books. It's called the Bishmash series. But I also have blank journals that I've done with my paintings on the cover that are available on Amazon also.
Well, that sounds really good. I think that is really good advice, and it fits any business. It doesn't necessarily have to be related to coloring books, but it can be related to focusing on any business, anything that you do in your life. I think that what you just said about listening to your audience and asking them what they want is that's a gold nugget that you literally could take to the bank. That's really good advice.
You have to give the people what they want. And sometimes you may not, I won't draw something that I really am against. For example, there's all these coloring books with these swear word coloring books, and I'm not going to do a swear word coloring book. I mean, if I'm going to eat my words later and say I never ever will, I'm pretty sure I never ever will do a book like that. It doesn't fit my style. It doesn't fit what I would like to be known as an artist. I think that words mean a lot as far as the energy that's attached to them. So I would rather have something that had a word that was a positive word. But those books are very, very popular, and a lot of artists are doing very well with them. It's just not something that's for me. As much as I probably could do one and sell a lot of them, I just will make the decision that is not something that I will do. So you still have to kind of stick to your beliefs of what you want your art to actually be.
Be who you are and understand that words have power and words have energy, and be who you are, be real, be authentic.
You have to be who you are, and eventually it will all come together, and it won't look like you're just throwing all these books out and all these illustrations out just to. The goal is to make money. I do get that. However, I think that 80% of it for me is to produce something that comes from my heart or comes from my soul. And sure, if it makes money, that's wonderful. But I also have created an awful lot of art that makes zero. So, but that's what happens. You just have to stick with it, and you just have to just do something, create something every single day. Even if it's for an hour, just create something every single day.
Where can we get more information about you and your books? Can you give me your website and groups?
Sure. My website is the best place to go. That is where all my books are. There's videos. There's an online digital catalog that you can flip through on the screen that will give you info on the books, videos. It's very interactive. And that website is AnnManera.com, ANNEMANERA.com. You can also go on Facebook and join my Facebook page, which is Art by Ann Manera Coloring Books on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter, Ann Manera. I'm on Twitter as Ann Manera. And you could join my coloring group on Facebook, which is Just Color with Ann Manera. I also have another group that's a secret group. That's a coloring team, and I have a group of about 20 people, and they color for me. I'll give them release pages to them before my books come out, and they'll get free pages, and they'll color the pages, and in return, they post them on a bunch of Facebook coloring groups for me to help promote the books.
Wow. If you like to color, make sure that you go visit any of Ann's locations, and if you want to color request that you'd like to be involved in that project, and I'm sure she'll help you out. So, Ann, do you have any last words of advice for our audience?
Well, I guess if you have not tried coloring, then try it. If you've tried coloring and think that maybe you colored something that you did not enjoy, there are so many different coloring books out there. And there's just so many artists that are self-publishing books, and they're considered indie artists. And those books are on Amazon, and just check out what's there. And a lot of I'll answer questions in the group if you have any questions about any of my work. I'm on Facebook a lot. I'll do a lot of Q&As. I'll get involved with a lot of different events. And I also have an Etsy shop where you can buy single pages from my coloring books, or you can buy a digital version of the book and something you can just download immediately if you just want to try out one book.
Well, thanks, Ann. I really appreciate the time you took with us today. And this is Tammy Patzer. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.